two, three. This time of day, everything's okay. I take a long look around, I have to say, this time of year, it becomes clear.
Hello, welcome to your friends and neighbors. My name, you should know by now, is Willy Jones. And I'm telling you, things have been a buzz here in the studio before we even started doing this show today. And I think when you find out what the theme is, you might understand why. I have been looking forward to this interview for a long time. Well, not a long time, but ever since I heard that our guest today has a really interesting hobby. And something I kind of wish I had gotten into myself, I think. And I might have years ago, but I'll tell about that tale of woe later. So my guest today is from Totten Autographs, and his name is Drew Totten. Hello, Drew.
Hi, Willie.
How are you?
I'm great. Great.
Yeah, Drew is an autograph seeker, autograph hound. I don't know. What do you like to be? What is the term
Collector,
that we should use?
Collector and dealer, I guess, is probably the easiest way to.
All right. Well, so how did you start doing something like this? I mean, when did you start?
I started collecting for myself in the early 1980s, and people were saying to me, "Wow, that stuff's really cool. Can you get me something?" And so it sort of kind of developed into a business, in which I started in 1989. So. But it's really cool. It's a cool hobby, and I know, and I suspect that there's probably a viewer or two out there that might have a collection of their own that they're working on. So
right, and even if you don't have a collection of your own, I mean, Al Skidmore and Ryan Scott, who is taking care of our show today, they were both in here earlier. And they were very excited about the different memorabilia that we have here on these two tables. Mm-hmm. Now, you also said that you have people that help you on the East Coast and the West Coast to search or to look out.
I do. Generally, most of what I sell is as autograph entertainment memorabilia. I don't do a lot in sports, but I do some. And I employ a person on the East Coast and one on the West Coast. And I usually will provide them with the blank photo or the item that I want signed. And then they're the people that go out and sit out in parking lots and wait for people to come out of the restaurants or the airports or whatever.
So they're not really paparazzi. They're more.
No, they work for me. This is what they do. They work for other autograph dealers as well. So.
Right. Well, I know early fall I went down to New York with a friend to see Neil Patrick Harris and Hedwig and the Angry Inch, and I said, "Oh, we got to get his autograph," because the show was wonderful.
Yeah.
We stood out in this crowd, immense crowd, for 45 minutes. He never came out, and we gave up. And I thought, I'm not a really true autograph seeker if I wasn't willing to stand there. But people kept cutting in front of us. Yeah. Some of them had big posters and all that stuff. So we decided, we're not going to get an autograph. But,
well, there are a lot of people who really enjoy this, and they get a little psycho when they see someone that is their favorite star.
Yeah.
And so
I said to you before, and I've said here on the air, and I think I've said it to many people, I am what I call a celebrity slut. And when I saw a lot of these photos and the autographs that we have surrounding us here, I got a little excited myself. And even though I'm not a big sports fan, I mean, we have a couple pieces here that
there's a Mickey
I think
Mantle,
people will be
Mickey
very
Mantle here
interested in. Yeah. So you have your location right here in town.
Yeah.
So people can go to you, and so they come to you if they want to purchase an autograph, or if they have an autograph that you might want to purchase.
Both. So I broker for other people.
Right.
So if somebody calls me and says, I have this and I don't know what it's about,
right.
Or could you value it for me? I authenticate things as well. So I purchase things. I purchase collections, as well.
okay.
And I have a very long wish list of customers with who they're looking
I'm sure.
for. So
I'm sure. Oh yeah. Oh God, I would have a wish
Yeah.
that would go on forever.
So
My
I have a
list-
computerized wish list for people, and as these things come in, or I know another dealer or a piece that may come in that may interest a customer, then then I know who to go to.
Right.
So.
Well, I shouldn't get ahead of myself here. I guess we should let people know what your website is and everything like that. And actually, this information will appear at the end of the show too. But just to let us know how people can get in touch with you and everything.
The best bet to get in touch with me is to just go on the web. I'm at Drew Totten, DREWTotten.com or TottenAutographs.com. And you can reach me or email me through the website as well with any of your requests or any information. And I just updated my website a few days ago, so there's about 1,200 pieces there that people can look at in all different genres, from sports to politics to music, a lot of contemporary type of music and entertainment. Yeah.
Do you go out and get any of these autographs yourself?
I have in my earlier collecting times. But I don't do this full time, so time becomes
No, I know
you
have another career,
right.
but
I do have as I say, I have a number of sources that that have worked for me for a long time. So I'm pretty confident that the supply never really ends, which is kind of a good thing.
You said East Coast, West Coast. Is there one coast or the other that it's easier to get autographs? I mean, I would think New York City, yeah, that would be great.
New York City is a good market.
LA,
but it's
I would
LA.
think New York
it's
might
predominantly California is big because there's a lot. That's Hollywood, and
Yeah.
so with Hollywood being there, just by its virtue of location,
Right.
that's where a lot of the stars are.
Yeah.
Although there's a number of stars that live around even in Vermont and around here, even in beautiful Bennington County.
Right,
so,
right.
So
And of
in
course
many
in
of
New
those,
York, for me,
yes.
would be Broadway. I mean,
Right.
it'd be all the Broadway actors and stuff
Exactly.
like that. That's who I would
Exactly.
be really impressed with. Now, do you go outside of the United States?
I ship all over the world.
All over the world.
I have customers in Tokyo. I have customers in a fair number of customers in the United Kingdom. And I've shipped an autograph to Dubai. I was worried about it getting there, but it did. So yeah, there's I ship all over the place through the website.
You ship these out to people, but is it hard for you to give up some of these autographs? I mean, I'm sure there's some that you have to hold on to. You will never give up.
There's the collection side and there's the business side, and sometimes I parted with things that were I probably shouldn't have because I regretted actually parting with them.
Yeah.
But the things that have some sentimental value to me, I keep, just like any other collector does.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
There's really
and
not
we'll
a lot.
talk about some of those.
Some of those
pieces
things
in a
are
minute.
actually.
Yeah,
I actually brought a few of those here.
I was telling you, I had a little tale of woe. When I was a kid, I was celebrity crazy then, and I used to write to the movie stars. I had autographs and photos like from Alan Ladd. I mentioned to you Patricia Medina. You weren't sure who she was. I believe she was married to Joseph Cotten. I know I had George Nader. I can't remember who else I had. And I also had scrapbooks, and I kept all these. I took pictures out of magazines and all this stuff. When I went into high school, I thought I was going to enter. That summer, I thought, I got to stop doing this. This is not something.
Yeah.
I'm getting older. I took my scrapbooks and I went to the dump with my father and I threw all of that stuff in the dump.
Oh my gosh.
I rue it to this day because I think the next day I started cutting out some more stuff. I probably now at the house, I don't have a lot of fancy photos or anything, but I have probably 25 boxes full of photos and pictures and stuff from magazines, calendars. I mean, I'm just terrible. Anybody, give me your magazines, give me your calendars.
Yeah.
I will cut them up. And I'm just so sorry that I did that.
You're not the first person that's done that. I have a number of people who have mentioned to me that, I should have kept this or should have kept that. But a lot of the things go in the dump. I had one elder woman who had a huge collection from the 1930s and 40s of some really, really great stuff. and her grandson, after she passed away, her grandson got the collection, and he just did that. He put it all in a box and he brought it to the landfill. And who knows what was in there? I mean, it was just some of that stuff might have been priceless for you know. It's just,
well, when I was
but people can't appreciate. You know, if you don't appreciate this stuff, it doesn't have the value that it does to a collector.
And I have no
you know.
idea what I'm going to do with these 25 boxes.
Well, we should get together and we'll look.
They're just
through it.
photos out of magazines. You know, they're just just paper. I'm surprised that they haven't all disintegrated.
Right.
But when you mentioned the older lady and the photos, I want to go back. First of all, you were talking about you have some foreign countries that you deal with too.
Yeah, I do.
Do you have a lot of foreign autographs? I mean, like French. I'm thinking of Jean-Paul Belmondo or Alain Delon, Catherine Deneuve. You know, people like
I did
that.
have a Catherine Deneuve.
Oh, you do
yes,
have?
Yes,
Oh,
I did.
cool.
It was sold some time ago.
Okay.
But to answer your question, they're buying American autographs. They're buying.
They want them.
They have the same interests that a lot of our collectors and stargazers do in America.
I would
So,
suppose Japan. I would expect Japan must be very.
Japan
very,
and England.
and England
Amazing amount of interest in England. They have their own. They have a lot of autograph societies, and large clubs, and so.
Yeah, that reminds you. Do you go to conventions or different things like that? For
I haven't gone to anything in the last few years just because I've been so busy, but I do will do a show. I've done local shows here. I had a display at Camelot Village for almost 10 years.
Oh wow! I didn't know.
Yep, I was there for about 10 years, and it was hard for me to just to keep moving the merchandise. It just got to be a little more because 99% of my business is online. So.
Right. So when you go to these conventions or different meetings like that, how many people are usually going to be there? Hundreds?
It varies. If for example, there's if you go to like a Star Trek collectible thing, there's thousands of people there.
You had a lot of Star Trek.
I have some, and I have some real original stuff. I have one of the first brochures that was ever made, which is a pretty cool item. It was back in 1966. It's on my website in case you want to go look.
I used to work in a movie theater, and they used to get a lot of press books and boxes with press stuff and all that stuff. I used to have all that stuff too. That went
right.
You know, and nothing was autographed, but it was just kind of cool stuff.
But it's still the period. You can't replace that. I mean, you can't just
So, what is your specialty? What do you specialize in? I mean, right here we've got a lot of entertainment, some sports. Is it mostly entertainment?
Mostly entertainment, contemporary entertainment. But I have a lot of the things. I mean, I couldn't certainly bring everything that I wanted to, but a lot of vintage television.
Oh.
So for example, I have a huge collection on Sopranos collection.
Oh, okay.
I have a huge collection from the. Of course now that.
What about Doctor Who?
Some.
That's a big.
Some.
That's a big thing.
All in the Family.
Oh, okay.
So some of the earlier television that really, that I really, I like because I grew up, with that. You grow up with, Matlock and.
Yeah. Right.
Quincy and Barney Miller and Mayberry and all that stuff. And I have a couple pieces from those shows as well that are autographed.
There's a show that I remember that I loved called It's a Man's World, and nobody ever has heard of it.
I've heard of it.
No, I never heard of it. I really liked, and of course, Surfside 6 and 77, Sunset Strip and Hawaiian Eye, all those shows.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned something about British too, or maybe I did. I would think now, because there are so many British actors, Australian actors, working in the movies and on television right now, I would think they were probably very popular right now to try to get those.
They are.
Like, I mean,
they're on my wish list.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
There's a number of those that are on my wish list.
Because they appear on talk shows, and all of a sudden, they have an Australian accent or British accent. And I don't know why the British and the Australians are so good at getting that that American accent, but God, they are wonderful.
The minute they open their mouth, things change, and when you see them in real life, it's like, wow, they have a really heavy accent, and when they're in the movies, you never hear it. It's kind of like singing. It's like the same thing with singing.
I'm not surprised they'd be on your wish list.
Mm-hmm.
And now I know, as we said, we got a lot of samples here to look at today. Before we do that, though, there was a few things I wanted to ask you.
Sure.
What would be the most valuable autograph that you have? Do you have that with you today, or is that at home?
There are a couple here that are extremely valuable.
Yeah.
This Princess Diana.
Diana.
This was signed in New York City. This was procured from an elder woman who was, I guess you would call her a debutante. She lived on Madison Avenue, and this was I was fortunate to be able to get this from her grandson.
Oh, great.
And this was signed in 1996 on Madison Avenue in her apartment, and Princess Di was there. And
wow.
She was there doing some fundraising. So this is a very valuable piece, and it's a valuable piece to me as well, just because of the story behind it.
Now, to my right, you told me that there's a Steve McQueen, a photo of Steve McQueen and his autograph. You said he's
one of the rarest autographs there is.
I wonder why, because he didn't sign a lot.
He didn't sign.
Huh.
And that I put together myself. That actually came from a collection that I purchased of just signature cards, and I was thrilled to have that in the collection. As a matter of fact, that was the main reason I bought the collection. The rest of the stuff, having seen that, I didn't really care much about anything else. And then I matted it and framed it. I found a picture that I liked and matted it and framed it and did that. There's an Elvis back there.
Yeah, I was interested in what you told me about that.
The Elvis piece is is pretty cool. There's a larger picture there that I placed in the frame in the ensemble, but there's a picture above which I don't know if the viewers can see.
I bet Brian will find.
I think maybe he can zoom in later. If not, there's a picture of Elvis actually signing the card that's below that, and that was signed in 1974 in Vegas.
Which makes it much more valuable.
Much more, because he actually, that's a picture of him signing it. So you don't get better authentication than that. So.
How do you authenticate? I mean, how do you know, okay, this is really an autograph from so-and-so? How can you authenticate that?
The authentication process is can be very difficult because, for example, most people have, their signature is relatively consistent. If you're in a hurry, you'll do it a little, you'll scribble a little.
Yeah. A lot of them, you can't even read.
Or me too. But there are certain characteristics that we use to analyze the signature. And if I can't analyze it, I will send it to a number of authenticators that I use to be able to do that. There are a lot of things, and I'm not here to bash any other websites, but eBay notoriously has fake autographs. And I don't do any business on eBay. I don't want to even, because some of the things that they allow people to put on there as authentic is really, really scary.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I think the buyer beware piece I think is always important, particularly with autographs, is that you need to deal with someone who has been in business a long time, and who makes a concerted effort in doing the research behind the piece. And that's a wonderful word known as provenance, but that's, we want to know, where does this come from?
Right.
Because it's important, and that's why I really only sell things that I know have been signed, and that's why I have the people to do that.
That's right.
But people, I have a customer that called me yesterday who just said, I've got this whole box of stuff, and can I send it to you? And he lives in Virginia, and I'm expecting that box to show up, and I'm going to go through it.
And it'll be like Christmas.
See. It'll be like Christmas.
Wow.
It'll be like Christmas. So the authentication process, there are a number of reputable houses out there, but like I say, I think those people, there's an absolute buyer beware in this business, because anybody who there's photocopies that can be made of autographs, and the technology today in scanners and printers is so good that the duplication process can be can look spot on, and you really need to look at the material. I mean, there are certain things that also the that the consumer needs to pay attention to. When you're doing your homework, there are certain types of pens that certain celebrities use, or the period. So if they didn't have a Sharpie back in,
that's what I was going to
if you don't have a
ask
Sharpie,
you.
they didn't make Sharpies in
That's
1930.
right.
If you've got somebody supposed to be signed in 1930 by a Sharpie, it's fake.
You know
it's not
that,
possible.
yeah,
It's not possible.
Yeah, it was. I mean, when the Sharpies came into existence, I'm sure that made it much easier authenticating, and I would assume that if people were just using regular ballpoints or fountain pen or whatever, I would assume that those at some point are going to start
Breaking
disappearing
down.
a little bit, breaking down.
They can break down.
So I know everything you have here today is either framed or in glass, but are there specific things that you have to do to make sure you can preserve the autographs?
Most of, as I mentioned, I have well over 1,000 pieces, and they're in all different forms. Most of them are 8x10 autographed photos. They're in sleeves. They're in a humidity controlled environment.
Oh, okay.
They're in not only in plastic. They're in plastic tubs, so they're not exposed to heat variations, because they will in time degrade.
God.
But the thing about the Sharpies, it's a tremendous invention, because it is permanent, and they tend not to fade too much. But the worst thing that's going to get your autograph is always going to be light.
Yeah.
So whether it's sunlight or artificial light, I've lost more autographs that way, because when I set up a display, or if I put a display in a store window, that inventory has to change almost every other day, because it will get damaged very, very quickly, because it bleaches it and then it gets faded.
With all this stuff, do you sometimes sit there and, I got to sort through it. I got to look at it because I'm so happy I got all these things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
Because I forget sometimes what I have, and I think that's the beauty of being a collector. You kind of forget where you got this stuff.
Who do you really want right now? Who are some of the people you were thinking, I really wish I could get this autograph?
It's a hard question, because I think I probably
Don't say the Kardashians.
No, I got bunches of her.
Oh, God.
I got bunches of Kim. So
Okay.
if you need Kim Kardashian, check out my website, folks.
Oh,
'cause
okay.
There's
All right.
lots of Kim there.
Nobody in
I have some.
particular?
Yeah, it's hard, because there's so many people I like. It would be I'd really
Mostly entertainment.
I guess I should have prepared.
Entertainment, politics, sports. Which area would you be looking for?
It probably would be entertainment.
Entertainment.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that are no longer with us that I really wish I had
Yeah.
run into in my in my lifetime.
I
Although
love-
I've met a fair number of celebrities in my time. So.
Yeah, I love going through those beautiful coffee table books that come out, especially the black and white. There is nothing. The photos are just they're so sharp. The black and I enjoy black and white movies for that reason, because it's just there's something about it.
There's a lot. There's a lot of differences between, and of course now everything is being in color, but if you think about it, look what happens in the wedding industry. That some of the most beautiful photos of wedding pictures are in black and white.
Yes.
So it's not all about color.
Yeah, no, it's
not all about color.
It's not. Are you into photography yourself?
Not particularly.
No,
not particularly. No.
No, you just like collecting them.
No, I just like to collect them.
I was trying to think if I had any other little things that I wanted to mention before we spend a little time talking about a lot of these photos.
Sure.
What would you consider is your most valuable here? I mean, I know you've got a Kennedy down there next to you that said you're very proud of.
I'm really happy with this one. This picture was. I put this ensemble together.
Right.
This letter I had purchased from another collector. My brother Glenn, who lives in Washington D.C., was at the time when Kennedy was alive, was a page in Congress. And for those people who don't know what a page is, he would bring messages to the congressman. So the content of this letter is really kind of interesting, because it talks to it's dated in 1959, and Kennedy hadn't even this was prior to him being president, because it is basically he wrote it on Senate stationery, and it basically says, and just to paraphrase, it says that basically to this person, he said he wanted to thank JFK, thank the person for writing in, and said the interesting part of the narrative here is that if I should aspire if I should aspire to higher office, I'll be more than sure to contact you. And then that's the person that he wrote, and that's just such really, really unusual content from such a a wonderful man.
And how did you get a hold of that letter?
This I got through another collector.
Just through another collector.
Yeah. And which I'm sure the viewers can't see, and I'm sure there's the reflection here might not be great, but there's some wrinkles here. I mean, it's it's a long time old here. It's 1958. So, but this is probably one of my best pieces. And I would say that
nice black and white.
Oh yeah, and of course it's in black and white.
Yeah.
The other thing is that I have always been a very big Kennedy buff, and I have a lot of autographs of the Kennedy family. From all the brothers, Rose, the mom, and also the assassination piece. So I've got pieces from Lee Harvey Oswald. I have pieces from Jackie. So it's really cool. And I was always a assassination nut anyway.
Oh, okay.
Because. And I won't even get into that because that's way too controversial.
Sounds a little creepy. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. And then I have a couple Beatles pieces.
Yeah, I know. That was one of the ones you have in front of you.
This is just an album cover signed by Paul McCartney. As many of the viewers probably have heard, Paul McCartney was recently up in Peru.
And don't you wish you had been up there?
I wish I would have. Yeah. I would have loved to have meet. Yeah, can't even talk right now. Love to meet him. So this is one of a few pieces that I have from McCartney. I have Ringo Starr as well. I have Yoko Ono, and I have George Harrison. So I have some of these other pieces as well. But one of the stories I think is kind of neat. If Willie, if you could just kind of hand me this one.
Yes.
This is a picture.
You said you were going to tell me a story.
This is a picture of John Candy. And many of you know of him being a comedian and Uncle Buck and in a lot of other
planes, trains,
and automobiles and all those sort of things. This was an interesting story because in the 1990s I owned an office supply store in Manchester, and I had been bugging John Candy's agent for months and months about can you just get something from him? I mean, I just, because I was always, he heard just what a wonderful guy he was, and, just send me anything. And so, lo and behold, I get nothing for, as I said, for months. And then one day, and this, of course, didn't come like this. This was just this is the picture itself, obviously autographed. And I got it in the mail. So I called the agent back and I thanked him very much. And I come to find out about a year and a half later, after John died, I get a phone call at my store from his wife. Oh. And she wanted the picture back. And I said, well, what's the matter? What's the problem? And she said, well, that's a one of a kind. Oh. What happened is that his agent was bugging him, and he went into his office, and John opened up the desk drawer, this top drawer, and he just signed it, and he said, here, give it to him. Sign this one. Well, there was no negative, and this is the only one. Oh. And this picture is showing John holding a pair of glasses, and the intent of this was that he was going to do a pilot on a spoof of some legal program.
Oh, okay.
And it never went into production. So there's no other copy of this picture. And so he autographed it. Well, his wife wanted it back. So I told, I was nice, but I said to her, Mrs. Candy, I really appreciate your situation here and that you want it back. And but I said, and so we hemmed and hawed on the phone for a couple minutes. And so finally she said to me, well, she goes, I'll make a deal with you. She said, if at any point you are going to get rid of this photo, that you agree, that you promise that you will send it back to me if you should ever think about selling it or getting rid of it in any way. Okay. And I said, well, you shouldn't have to worry about that, but right. Nonetheless, so that was the story. So this is just a one of a kind thing, and it was a spur of the moment thing just to appease some autograph collector at the time, Manchester, Vermont, to just sign the thing and do it. So this had a cool story to it.
You couldn't have shared custody or something? I mean,
no, I wasn't willing to share custody.
What about Red Skelton?
Red Skelton, that was a piece that that I had actually gotten from I don't really remember where that came from. I used to watch him as a kid.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and
Sure.
he was just a, you know, a
What about
real
Milton
nice
Berle?
human being.
You got Milton Berle too?
I did have one. I
Yeah.
did have one.
Arthur Godfrey,
sold it.
all those.
No, I didn't. No, no Arthur, but I
No.
definitely had Milton.
Dinah Shore.
Dinah Shore.
Oh, yeah.
Still have one.
I always liked Dinah Shore.
I still have one.
Yeah.
So you got to check my website out
Yeah.
too, so you
What
know.
about the big bands? You got a lot of things from that era, the big
Not
band
much,
era?
not
No?
much. Although when this information comes in the box that I'm waiting for,
Ooh, that might, you never know.
I might, because this is an old collection, and
Right.
I don't really know what's in there. So
What about soap opera stars? People, do you have a lot of soap opera? Because I know
No.
there are a lot of soap opera fans. I mean,
there are.
Days Are Alive.
there are, and the problem is there's so many of them that, you know, how would you, you know, who would you pick?
Right.
So that's why I do special orders,
Right,
because you
right.
know, if somebody gets in touch with me, I'll see what I can do.
So how often do these special orders come in? Do you get a lot of
Oh, I have a
these
big
every single?
Not necessarily every single day,
No.
but probably, you know, a couple shipments a month anyway, from
wow.
somewhere. Yeah, yeah.
And so do you have to barter as far as prices, or is it just a fair trade, or
Oh, I
do you
have
just
to do a
trade
lot of
off,
bartering.
or-
I have to do a lot of bartering.
yeah,
Usually, I'll purchase autograph lots from people.
get a whole lot?
But
Okay.
but I will trade, and have done that, because somebody wants something I've got something they want, they've got something I want.
Right, right. You got Whitney Houston
But
here.
I have actually two Whitney Houstons. Those were signed in 2012, and she was fantastic voice, as you know,
Oh, yeah.
as many people know, and such a shame of what happened to her.
It's
and
funny. It's
always
not a smile face.
She
It's
always
not a
she always
smile.
autographed everything with a smiley face.
But it's
Yeah.
not smiling. It's
Yeah,
kind of a.
well,
it's kind of
Who knows? She might have been impaired when she signed it. You know?
maybe.
What can I tell
know,
you?
that's too bad. Wait, she's got a. Oh, she's got a screw or a.
She's got a.
What do you call them? I'm so with tools.
It's a drill.
It's a drill.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
a drill.
Yeah,
Must be
Yeah.
drilling. One of her many albums or something.
must be. So, but yeah, she was quite a loss.
Yeah,
quite a loss,
no, she
yeah.
was, and now all this business with her daughter now.
I know.
Now, Al, when he came in here today, he was so excited. Can you tell us about this
Sure.
baseball?
This is a limited edition Mickey Mantle ball. It is number 430 of 536, and you know, when we're talking about things of that lack authenticity, this is one of those items. Mantle is still in very high demand, and there are so many fakes out there that you got to be really careful. This was, and I have a letter that goes with this and a picture of him signing it. So there's no question, and I've had many people look at this signature, and there's no question that it's authentic. But the interesting part about Mantle is that there are some very good copycats that are out there, and there was a number of groups that were recently arrested. What people may not realize is that when you start forging things, and sell it,
Sure.
it's a crime.
Yeah. Well, look at
And-
art forgeries too. I mean, some people are so good at replicating an art
Right.
piece of art.
I don't know if there was a piece on 60 Minutes a couple months ago about this artist that did Renoirs and did
Oh,
all
I
sorts
guess
of
I
things,
didn't
and
see
he
it, but
he
yeah.
had that's all he did. He painted them all
Right,
day long,
right.
and they were so good that nobody could pick out the fake.
Right.
And he made tons and tons of money. But this is one of the few pieces of sports memorabilia, particularly baseball, that I have, and this is really a nice piece. The other thing I have over there is I brought is this boxing glove.
This got Al too.
Al liked this one a whole
Yeah,
lot.
yeah.
Al liked this one a whole lot.
Yeah,
This glove is signed by Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier, and getting them to sign it together was a bit of a trick. And obviously, this was signed long before Ali, before his
Right.
Parkinson's. So this was signed in the mid 2000s.
Is this something you got yourself?
No,
or
this was
somebody did?
no,
Oh,
this was one of my guys. Yeah, and this was actually at a show, and Another example of there's a lot of fakes out there is Ali signature, because there's strokes and there's just certain heights of letters that if I can spot that across the room,
Yeah.
but the untrained eye can't, and so that's why I've been saying about the buyer beware, because there's just so much stuff that's out there that
Right. And these, I remember I used to years ago, maybe it was the Boston Red Sox, I don't know, a baseball that had all the team members' names on them.
Mm-hmm.
Now, would those been authentic, or would those have just been like a stamp, or?
They probably were
get 'em-
mass produced.
Okay.
That's one of the problems you have, because remember, unless you were there and were able to get everyone signed at the same time, which is kind of unusual. So when you see an entire team there, it's either very authentic or very fake, because if someone actually was able to go down the entire bench and have everybody sign it
Right.
and witness it,
Right.
then that's a great thing. But some of these things have been actually mass produced
Yeah.
onto the
Right.
onto the ball itself.
Right. Right. Now, I know we have some other folks over
Mm-hmm.
here on the round table. We have
Yep.
Michael Jackson
Yeah, I have
This
a
is the
number of Michael
Thriller
Jackson pieces.
CD.
Yeah, that's the LP. There is a
Pick it up.
Yep.
There. I'm scared to death to handle this.
Oh, there's nothing. You won't do any harm to it. This is one of his most famous albums.
Oh, yeah.
As many of the viewers know, is Thriller. I have a good friend who was a really good friend of Michael Jackson's, and so it was kind of nice when I negotiated with him some pieces. And I have actually on my website I have a Michael Jackson collection of some things from signed pictures to little 45 albums and all sorts of stuff.
Oh,
So.
How did you
So-
get the rare Steve McQueen? How
This-
did you?
this-
You said he's hard to
Yep,
find.
the
How
signature
did
itself
that come into your
came.
hand?
The signature in itself was part of that collection that I was telling you about.
Yeah.
That I got a large collection of signature cards, and that was the cream of the crop, and I paid a fair amount for the collection, but the biggest prize was that. And then I found the picture that I wanted to put with it, and then I had it professionally matted.
I just,
Yeah.
I'm so
Same
tempted
thing
to
with the
ask you
bow.
how much you'd have to pay, but I won't do that. That's too personal.
Well, he's for sale, and he's on the website, so if
Yeah,
anybody wants
okay.
to look. And then
And
there's a Humphrey Bogart in
You
the
would
front.
sell the Steve McQueen? I bet you'd want a pretty good price, though. I mean, I'm not asking the
It's
price,
under
but I
$1,000.
can't believe
It's under $1,000.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's under $1,000.
Huh. And who? I can't remember who the other two are. That are
Steve
here.
McQueen,
Oh,
and then we've got Humphrey Bogart, and then the other group is the Bee Gees,
Oh, the Bee Gees. Yeah.
who are always my all-time absolute favorite. And I have
really?
this one. Oh yeah, yeah. Of course, I was a kid in the '70s, like some of us, and did disco and all sorts of stuff, and used to go to the Roundhouse in Manchester. And
Oh God, the Roundhouse. Were they at? The
Yeah.
Bee Gees were at the Roundhouse?
no, they weren't there. No,
Oh.
no.
I was gonna say, I didn't-
right in that area, because I was
Oh, right.
I was in high school when
Right.
Saturday Night Live Saturday Night Fever came out. It was in the mid '70s.
When I was in
So-
college, who did we have? I was at Castle State College. We had Strawberry Alarm Clock, Gary Puckett and the
Union
Union
Gap,
Gap, who
yeah.
I really like their music a
Yeah.
lot. And I swear to God, we had Iggy Pop there. But I don't know why I think that, but there was some little guy, but it probably wasn't him at all.
Yeah.
But I just, a lot of groups like that. The older groups, do you have a lot of, I don't know about Strawberry Alarm Clock and Gary Puckett, but.
I have a fair number of older groups. I have Chicago, original Chicago.
Oh, I would imagine they're still popular.
They're still playing. Everybody from I have a fair amount of country and western stuff too, but I have Aerosmith.
You mentioned the Stones.
I have the Stones, Aerosmith. All those pieces are there too. So, but that's that was part of when I was growing up.
Yeah.
I mean, I was in high school in the '70s,
Yeah.
and that's when they were out there. And,
Right.
But I love the older stuff too. I love the '60s music and.
What about like movie placards, posters, stuff like that? Do you have?
I do have some posters. I actually have. I think one of the nicer pieces that I have from Michael Jackson is I have a poster from The Wiz.
Oh.
That he assigned. That was
okay.
that was nice. But you know, the thing with posters is that they take up a fair amount of space.
Yeah. No.
And in order to display them, you need a fair amount of space. And you know,
Right,
with the amount of pieces I have, you have to be a little
I
bit.
know I have a lot of old posters around,
Right.
but they're not signed or anything
Yeah,
like
and
that.
that's the thing. I don't really handle anything that isn't autographed. So, and I get a lot of requests for people about, you know, old baseball cards or stuff like
Right,
that.
right,
and I
right.
usually refer them to somebody who specializes in that, because that's not my specialty.
Yeah, you say you weren't one of these kids that collected the bubble gum cards
No,
and
no.
got all the, oh God, that gum was awful. Ugh,
Yeah, it was.
ugh,
It was
God.
actually better to eat the card and
Yeah,
collect the gum.
You're right. You're
as
right.
as I
Now you
remember.
mentioned you've done some shows or some exhibits here in town.
Yep.
Do you have anything like that coming up in the future?
I am actually looking for a venue to do that with, and the summer's coming, so I'm going to
Yeah.
be looking to see if I
That'd be
can
great.
find some space, because people really appreciate, you know, even if, and I don't care whether if nobody buys anything, I don't really care, because it's, you know, people really do like to look at this stuff.
They like. Well, look at when Al
They
came
really
in
like
here
the,
today.
It's cool. It's cool stuff.
I mean, I thought, geez, I hope he's not going to have a heart attack. He
Yeah,
was
he
so.
was getting a little nervous
He
there.
was
It
so
got me
excited.
a little bit
and
nervous.
it's
you know.
wonderful. And
Yeah.
I was when you showed when I saw the Steve McQueen. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was always a big fan of Steve McQueen. And when you were talking about the Elvis one, it's so important if you can have a photo of that person actually signing the autograph that you have. I mean, that must be hard to get a hold of, though.
It was.
Do a lot of people go? You have a person, just one person on the east and one on the west.
One on the east, one on the west, but that's not where that came from.
Oh, okay.
That actually came from a busboy at Caesar's Palace.
Oh, cool.
It was at the time
Yeah,
a busboy. Now he has since died.
Oh, okay.
And this is one of those family kind of things.
Yeah.
You know, what do I want to do with it? I didn't like Elvis. Well, if you don't like Elvis, maybe there's, you know. And I advertise all around the country. So, you know, I get these emails and I get these phone calls about I got this stuff, you know.
Yeah. What about these big Las Vegas shows and things like that? Does your West Coast person cover those?
Yeah, we've gotten some pieces from Cher when she's a big Vegas.
One of her final tours.
One of her final tours. She's a big Vegas act as well. Some of the older stuff that are still out there and who are very good signers. Wayne Newton is still a very good,
I'm
is a
sure
very
he
good
is.
signer. You know, he's popular with the older ladies.
Yeah. Oh,
but,
yeah.
So yeah,
Shane.
and it's kind of neat. And the thing is, you never know who's going to turn up. That's the thing.
Yeah.
You know.
What about like Frank Sinatra, Vic Damone, some of those old crooners?
Sinatra, I actually have a really nice younger picture of Frank on the website that's autographed, and I just sold another piece that I'd gotten from a piece of his clothing that I'd gotten.
Oh, so you have
a
clothing
shirt.
too?
Well, I did in this particular
You have other
case.
clothing besides that?
I have a T-shirt. I have some T-shirts that have been autographed, because you know when you go to concerts,
Yeah,
they kind of just
right.
bring them up. The one, I think there's one that comes. I've got one that's signed by Huey Lewis in the News, and he just older stuff. You know. But yeah, there's it's fun. It's fun, and
If you hear somebody's like in the area, someone has said, I heard, well, Paul McCartney was up.
Yeah.
Do you have this tendency to think, oh, maybe I
oh,
have
yeah.
to go and
Oh,
search that person
absolutely.
out?
Absolutely. And the problem is with the Paul McCartney visit is that no one really knew anything.
No, I know that.
Nobody
they
knew
kept
anything.
That, so
And
I'd
they
like
were-
to know who he had with him. That's what I want to know.
Well, he did. He had an entourage with him.
Yeah, I'd like to know
because they
who
went
he had.
skiing. They
I'd
went
like
skiing.
love to know.
But the only thing is with that situation is that, and I have to give the owners of the Prue General Store a lot of credit, because it's very difficult for people of this stature to be able to go anywhere,
Right.
and not be molested.
Yeah.
I remember Dom DeLuise was a really good friend of mine, and
Well, he lived up in
and he lived in Dorset,
Yeah.
and I lived in Manchester, and so he and he used to come in. I had an office supply store in Manchester, and he used to come in all the time. And I remember one summer, Dom came in to, I don't know, get some copies or something, and these two guys that were from out of town spotted him, and of course he had his trademark white hat.
Yeah.
And so they came in, and Dom was a very, very personable gentleman. He would, you know.
Oh, you could just
he,
tell that
he just
from,
he
yeah,
just
on talk shows
exuded
and stuff, yeah.
he just exuded friendship, and the point of this day was that he and I were going to go to the pizza house next door and have lunch.
Yeah.
Well, these two guys came into my store and they were really rude. They came in and they said to him, "Can we get a picture?" And Dom said, "Yeah." So he took the picture, and then they took some video, and then they wanted to take something else, and finally I had to ask the guys to leave. They were so obnoxious.
Good for you.
And so once they left, Dom and I went next door to the Manchester Pizza House, and we sat down and we were having lunch, and I said to him, "How do you deal with this? You know, this is just difficult on the best day."
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'll never forget what
Just
he
watching
said.
it,
He said,
yeah.
"Drew," he said, "someday they won't remember me." And
Yeah.
he said, I'd rather let people remember me,
Right.
and because there are so many people out there in the world, particularly celebrities, which is what he was referring to,
Right.
that can be real jerks to their fans,
Right.
and without the fans, they'd be nobody, you know.
One-
and I think most people will say that.
I worked with Richard Thomas
Yep.
from the Waltons.
Waltons, yeah, sure.
You probably have some Walton stuff.
No, I don't have any
Oh, you
Walton
don't?
stuff, but I know
well,
Richard
I never got
Thomas.
his autograph, but I did work with him. We did a show through Oldcastle on Ezra Pound up at Bennington College,
Mm-hmm.
and he was one of the smartest, friendliest people I have ever met in my
Mm-hmm.
life. He would come in the mornings to rehearsal, and he would say hello to everybody. The person on costumes, the person who was going to be doing lights,
Mm-hmm.
everybody. And he was just as sweet as can be. And I told him at one point that my wife is just crazy about you. And he said, "Oh, I'd like to meet Grace Mary sometime." But then the show got over, and we were all backstage changing. And he said, "I never met Grace Mary." And I said, "Well, she's probably out in the audience still." He said, "Well, let me finish dressing. We're going to go out and say hi."
We gotta go,
He went
yeah.
out. He knelt down at her feet, kissed her hand. He
That's
was
great.
so sweet to her,
yeah.
and I would be so disappointed if I met a celebrity who I thought was so great, and then, you know. No, you're talking him. They were almost molesting Dom DeLuise.
Yeah, it was pretty.
You wouldn't go as far as if somebody was eating or stuff like that. Would you? Would you go over while they, you wait
No.
until there's?
No, I would wait until they leave, or at least around outside the venue. But a lot of people aren't willing to do that because, they got to get
people like to
going
be
and they want to
paid.
just,
Yeah. Did, any people that have appeared around here locally that you have been able to?
Yep. I ran into Goldie Hawn in Dorset
Oh.
a while ago. We were there. I was there for a rescue squad function actually, and I just about mowed her over. I was coming out of the bathroom and she was going in the ladies' room, and anyway, hard to have a conversation when you're kind of like going to the when you're ready
Yeah.
to go to the bathroom.
Well, yeah. Well, I had one of those.
But anyway, I stopped and I apologized, and she was very sweet, and I shook her hand, and she was fun. Burt Reynolds, I've met through Dom.
Through Dom,
I've met,
I was sure.
Burt Reynolds, I've met Lonnie Anderson when they were together. That was a while ago.
Yeah.
Michael J. Fox. Treat
Now,
Williams.
he still has a place here in Vermont,
He does.
right? Michael J. Fox.
Michael J.
Whoopi
Fox still
Goldberg
does.
has a place
Whoopi.
here in Vermont.
Whoopi does. I met Tom Selleck. Tom Selleck was in the, and that was just pure happenstance, in the old Jelly Mill in Manchester. So yeah, there's people, and Treat Williams, of course. Treat is still a great actor, and he was a great customer of mine when I had the
really?
office supply store. He's still in Manchester, and he's been in a lot of things. Very, very personable. Not having that kind of attitude of
Right. Yeah.
I'm somebody bigger
Yeah,
than I am.
I know Tim Daly is up at
Yep.
Dorset now
Yep.
quite a bit, I think, doing
Yeah, I
shows.
saw one of his last plays up there. So.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
I can't remember which one it was, but yeah.
Nor can I. So.
Wow. That.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm.
Yeah.
Now. See, I asked you. What was the last thing I asked you? Oh, if you've seen anybody here in town and gone up to ask them. when you do you go to do you go down to New York and go to the theater to check out what's going on down there, or maybe you're not really much of a theater buff? Or
I've certainly been to New York and been to Boston, but it was not my intent to. I wasn't on an autographed hunt, so.
So you don't, so you don't really have a lot of Broadway. Okay.
No, but I have colleagues in the business who are. So
Right.
so that's the thing. I think it's important for me anyway to when I specialize in something, that's how you get good at what you do. So I try not to be too big a generalist of as far as the products that I and the autograph and
Right.
things that I have, because collectors have their own little niche.
Yeah.
And so, I try to be a bit middle of the road with some of the categories that I have. So, as I said, I deal in music and politics and all those types of things. But beyond that, I don't do baseball cards. I don't do baseball bats. There's just some things that there's a lot of expertise out there, and it's just not mine. And it's never been my collecting interest. So. Generally, so I don't have everything under the sun. And as a matter of fact, I would worry about a dealer that did, because I would wonder how good they would be.
I'm assuming it's going to be more valuable because the autographs are on the glove.
Absolutely.
That's going to be much more valuable.
Yeah.
Okay. And what was the other thing I was going to ask you? Oh, we should mention again how people can get in touch with you if they're watching the show and they want to know, oh, geez, maybe I could talk to him. Maybe I got some
they can go to my website, which is Totten, Totten, autographs.com, or drewtotten.com. You'll either web address will get you to my site. And I have a local phone number, 442-2776, and you can give me a call. I'd be happy to talk to any of the viewers who may have something in their basement that they don't know what it is, or just want to talk to me about any of the things that we've talked about today. So.
Yeah, no, I think it's intriguing. I mean, when I found out that this was your hobby or whatever, I mean, actually, it seems like more than a hobby.
Well, it's a pretty expensive hobby, frankly.
Yeah,
but
I would assume it is.
Yeah, it's a pretty
I thought,
expensive
God, I wish I had started doing this years ago. I almost did when I was very young. I was starting out a little bit, but
I wish you hadn't thrown
I
your
think
box
it's
that box away.
fascinating. Oh God, the scrapbooks, and actually, when I was in the Cub Scouts, I got a badge. I can't remember what it's for. I got a badge for my scrapbook. I mean, I was excited.
There you go.
It went right out of my head again. What I was going to
Sorry,
say.
I keep talking while
No,
you're
that's all
trying
right. That's all right.
I'm talking while you're thinking.
And I already asked you who you might be looking for now. You were talking. Yeah, we talked about. I want to see anything. We talked about the Sharpies. Make it much better now because they're much more lasting than the other.
They are.
What about going back further than Kennedy? Do you have anything that goes back? Really historical. Or how about Bennington area, Vermont, or something like that?
No, actually, I haven't. I have a couple friends who handle Civil War stuff and military memorabilia and those types of things, and that's what I was talking about.
Yeah.
That's kind of their special niche.
Right,
this is mine. That's theirs. So I try not to muck it up too much, because remember that my customer base also doesn't. For you to get me something, or for me to buy something from you that I don't have a marketplace for, unless I'm personally interested in that item, I'm probably not gonna handle it, because I have no, for me to tie up, a bunch of money in something that I don't really collect or have a market outside of my business, more than likely I wouldn't, I probably wouldn't touch it.
What is the age level from people wanting stuff from you?
Stuff from me?
Does it go from like young people up to the older? Or?
Mid-20s to 70 plus.
Okay.
Anywhere in between.
Okay. And what do you think is the most popular? I mean, as far age-wise, somebody wanting to get a hold of you? And
I would suspect my last demographics would have been in about 40. About 40, somewhere between 40 and 50 years of age for most of my buyers, yeah.
And so, how much room does all of this take up in your home?
Well, quite a bit. But it is not. But not all of this is framed. Not all of this.
Right.
Some of this is.
You said you got it in
individual
the
blanks.
sheets and all that.
Yeah, but it takes up quite a bit of space.
Do people come to you? I said I threw away those scrapbooks. Do people come to you with scrapbooks that they've kept?
They
that
come
might
with
have...
scrapbooks. They come with garbage cans full of stuff. They come with things wrapped in newspaper. They come in things in plastic, and all, it's just like, what is this? Is this worth? That's the major question. Is this worth anything?
Is it worth? Yeah.
And that's what this customer that called me in Virginia said. He said, I don't know. He says he sent me a couple scans of some things that he had, and he said, I don't even know what's in this box. He said, would it be okay if I just sent it to you? I trust you. You've been in business a long time. Will you just look through it? If there's anything you're interested in, let me know. And if you're not, send it back. And I said, okay, I can do that.
Because everybody knows, or just about everybody knows, I'm a Luddite, but in this age of technology, it must be a lot easier for you to, you can look at a lot of stuff online and see what people are offering or what they're looking for or what they want to give you or and stuff like that.
But except that one of the things I found early on and when I started this business is that a lot of, there's still a percentage of my customers that don't have computers.
That shocks me.
Well, it did me too.
Well, if they're older, they might not. I don't know.
But that's the piece. And there's even people that are in their 40s and 50s that may not have a computer. And because everything that I have for sale is on the website, and I don't print a catalog because it changes so quickly.
Yeah, right.
I end up having to send people scans and make. I kind of go to the nth degree to get to get the customer what they need. But it was one of the things I was pretty surprised about, that there were still a lot of people out there.
Well, that surprises me too, because people are on my back all the time. Oh, God, here at Cat TV, oh God, at least get a smartphone, do something, will you? Everybody's bound to determine they're going to get Willy on a computer. I don't know.
Well, it was hard for Drew to get in touch with Willy. See, so,
yes,
so there's the prime
I
example
know.
right
You
there.
Yes,
I had to
we
chase
did a
this
lot
guy for like 2
of
weeks.
telephoning back and forth, load messages and stuff like
I
that.
know.
Yes, I just still have a plain old message machine. I'm not.
Yeah.
Oh God, I'm so far behind. Well, I just want to thank you so much. I know we're just about out of time here. I think we talked about everything we have here, right?
Yeah, I think we did.
We did Kennedy and Diana and everything. Okay, I just want to make sure that we didn't leave anything out.
No.
Well, this has been really interesting for me, and I hope it will be for everyone that is listening too. I'm sure it will be. And remember, if you've got anything in the basement or, that it hasn't gotten a little moldy or whatever, you don't want to
hopefully
look at
it's not moldy, but
but up in the attic or something like that, and you thought, oh, maybe I do have some stuff hanging around the house. I'm sure Drew would be very happy to.
I'd be happy to
get in touch with you.
Look at it for you.
Do you ever go to people's homes, or do you
I do.
have everything? Oh, okay.
No, I do. I make house calls, so if you've got some stuff you want me to come look at, I'll be happy to.
Okay. I know I have some artists that I don't know if that have some autographs on them. I don't know. I have to look into that. Well, anyway, so thank you very much. This has been a lot of fun.
Great.
And thank you, Ryan, for taking care of us today.
Thank you, Ryan.
And thank you for our viewers. I hope that you are enjoying your friends and neighbors. I know I enjoy doing it. And I have no idea who my next guest is going to be, but we'll be back. So take it easy. And again, thank you, Drew. And everybody, spring is coming. It is coming. And by the time this gets on the air, maybe it will really be here. So, okay. Thank you so much. And we shall see you next time. Bye-bye.
Everything's okay. I take a long look around, I have to say, this time of year, it becomes clear. Those you hold dear, you draw them near this time of day.